Alright, so I know last video we said we were going to tear down the motor, get her all cleaned up and take a look at it, but I got to make some room in the shop. So I don't know if anybody else has this problem with their shop, but this space ends up being a woodworking shop, a storage location, metal fabrication, automotive work. It just ends up getting cluttered real quick. So I'm going to take a couple hours here, get the shop cleaned up a little bit so I got some room so I can lay out some stuff. And yeah, we'll rock and roll. So I kind of wish that I had pulled the fan off before I took the alternator and belt and everything off, because now I'm going to be riding the struggle bus taking this fan off. I think what I'm going to try to do is wrap a ratchet strap around the pulley here, draw some tension on that. I'll probably have to take a couple of bolts off of the fan itself so I can get a big wrench in there. I don't have the tool to take these off. I really should get one, because this is about the, I don't know, 8th or 10th time I've struggled to get a fan off of something. So what I find kind of works good is if once you can get something on that nut, whether it's a crescent wrench or pipe wrench, whatever, hitting it with an air hammer tends to break them loose pretty good. So let's see how bad I struggle on this guy. Yeah, I enjoy riding the struggle bus for sure. And the comical part was when this was still in the truck, I said, boy, I should take that fan off so that I don't fight with it later. And then squirrel brain happens and we're all over the place. So I put a ratchet strap around that pulley and it seems like it holds decent, but just not enough. So I'm going to try to wedge a screwdriver down in between the bolts going into the pulley and the body of the nut there and see if I can kind of hold it that way. While we hit it with the air hammer. And you got to remember too, this is reverse thread, so you want to tighten it. There she goes. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, baby. So, like I said, I took those two bolts out there just to make room for that giant crescent wrench. So put those back in before we lose them. I'm not sure if I'm going to be reusing this fan or putting electric fans on or what. I do like the mechanical fan because, well, I like mechanical stuff. So there's that. I don't remember. There we go. I don't like it. Well, let me say this. It's not that I mind new stuff. I like the convenience that a lot of the modern technology brings to the automotive world. And I mean, I've got scanners and all of that random stuff. I'm not actually a mechanic either, just in case anybody was wondering. My actual trade is an HVAC tech. So I install and repair air conditioning, and I do some plumbing and that kind of stuff. But with technology, what I found is that when it works, it's awesome. But when it doesn't work, you're out of luck. You know, one sensor on a truck goes down, and especially on like a diesel, I mean, it puts you in limp mode, and now you've got no power. You're limited in how fast you can go. And a lot of times it's just something silly. It's a bad ground, or it's a loose connection, or a failed sensor, something along those lines. The core motor itself is usually not the problem. It's everything that it needs in order to run. So that's my biggest problem with modern vehicles, all the electronics. I mean, my wife's got a pretty new Jeep. We bought it brand new, and I plugged my scanner in, and I forget how many modules there were in that. I want to say it was like 15. So there's 15 different computers in that Jeep just to make it do what it does. And to me, that's just absolutely ridiculous. So again, I like modern technology for the convenience, but the more convenience you have, the more prone to failure you are. And I'm just sick of the failure. I mean, I get paid to fix other people's problems. I don't want to fix my own problems. So I want to build something that's going to be uber reliable. All right, so got the fan off. We're going to work on getting the front end of this motor tore apart so we can get the P pump out. Or not the P pump, I'm sorry, the VP pump out. I've never actually done this before, so we're going to kind of learn as we go. But, yeah, can't be too hard. It's all nuts and bolts, right? So, let's get at her. So we got the VP pump pulled off. You don't have to pull this front cover to take the pump off. You can just pop that gear off of there. So like if you're doing this in the truck, you don't have to take the whole front of the motor apart. This has to come off anyway because the P pump does not use the same mount. So I'm like, I might as well just go ahead and pull that. I think next we'll get the starter off, and then we'll probably flip over to the other side, get the exhaust manifold off, the turbo off, and all of that. So, well, let's get cracking. Hello YouTube, and welcome back to the shop. My name's Jim. Today we're going to take the head off of this 24 valve. So the reason we're going to take the head off of this, I want to take a look at it, see if the head's cracked. These 24 valves are pretty notorious for cracking a head, especially with any power adders or anything like that. And the last owner did do some stuff. I noticed there was a tuner in the truck. He's got the fast fuel pump on. There's been a couple other little things that are not stock on this motor. So taking the head off is pretty simple on these, especially when it's sitting on an engine stand. We got to take the rockers off, and then we're going to keep the rockers in order just in case I do reuse this head. Pull the head bolts off, and then we should be able to pry it up and then lift it. Be forewarned, this is a god-awful heavy head. So don't think that you're just going to manhandle it. I'm pretty sure this block pretty sure that head weighs just about as much as a small block. So let's get to her. All right, so pulled off all the rockers. We did keep them in order on the bench just in case I do want to put those right back on. Next, I want to get the injectors out. So there's going to be 2 bolts that hold the injector cover on. And we do got to get the crossover tubes out first. If you've got one that's kind of stuck a little bit, a pair of needle nose pliers, and just kind of grab it and gently wiggle, and it'll pull out. You just want to be careful not to damage the threads on there. There is a tool for this, and I am going to keep these in order. There is a tool that you can buy. I don't got one, so it is what it is. So the crossover tubes have to come out before the injectors come out. If you don't take the crossovers out before you take the injector out, you could damage some stuff. The injector tube has a little nipple that coincides with the injector. So let's get that out, and then we should be pretty close to getting this head pulled out. Taking it out, that O-ring is just trashed. And got a bunch of residue here. I'm guessing this is probably our leaking injector. Alright, so next we're going to break loose all of these head bolts and see if we can get that kind of broke free. Alright, so we got the head broke free. We're just moving it here. I've got a hoist right here that we're going to use to actually lift this head off, because I'm not going to pick it up, I can tell you that for sure. Alright, let's see what we see here. She's happy. I don't see any signs the head gasket was leaking, so that's a bonus. We're going to spray her down with a little degreaser, get her cleaned up, and take a closer look. Houston, I believe we have a problem. So, let me start off with what I initially found. I cleaned up the cylinder head, or cleaned up the deck surface a little bit. And if you look at these pistons, you can see the distinct outline of the valves, which means that the valve is definitely making contact here. Now this piston So all of these guys stayed black, which is kind of typical until you clean them up. This piston did have the, I mean, it was almost silver here. And this is also the cylinder that had the fuel injector that was probably leaking. So that doesn't surprise me too much. But these very distinct valve shapes do. Now this one I can feel a tiny, tiny lip on. It's not significant, but it's enough to make me go, uh-oh. Let's see if I can get a little closer there for you so you can distinctly see the valve right here. So that's number 6 cylinder. Come over here to number 6 cylinder. And I don't know how well the camera is going to pick this up, but there's a distinct lip between the valve guide and the head itself. There's a couple others, like this one doesn't look too bad. This one doesn't look bad. This guy right here is got a lip on it. This one's got a lip on it. Not too bad. This one definitely has a lip on it. And this one over here definitely has a lip on it. So what it looks like is going on is that the valve seats are probably loose-ish in there. And then I think what possibly happened is the valve guide, especially on this valve right here, may have gotten stuck a little bit and kept this valve open just a touch, just enough for it to kiss the cylinder head. So, or not the cylinder head, but the piston. So that's what I found. Some other causes for this could be valve train too tight. So if somebody adjusted the valves on this and they got the valves adjusted too tight on number 6, which that's the one that's way up underneath the cab, there's a possibility that that is what happened. There's also a possibility that the connecting rod bearings possibly got washed a little bit from the diesel fuel, and maybe there's some slop there allowing that piston to come up a little higher than it's supposed to. So I think my next step is probably gonna be, let's get the bottom end of the motor apart and see if we've got any play on that number 6 connecting rod, and we'll go from there. So there's metal in here. It's really concentrated mostly by numbers in between 5 and 6. Oh yeah, definitely metal. And some pretty good size pieces. Well, that's not what I wanted to see. Although I guess I'd rather see it sitting here on the engine stand than find it in a motor. Now that's interesting too. Okay, so that's ferrous metal. That is, there's a chunk of something down here that's non-magnetic. See if I can get this fished out. So, pretty good chunk of something. Yeah, that's aluminum. There's more of it here. Well, not a whole lot in these motors that's aluminum besides pistons. Yeah, the majority of the metal is concentrated around the 5 and number 6 cylinder, although that's also where the sump was. So, I mean, I guess it could have come from any place, and then when I rotated the motor around, that's just where it all kind of ended up. But yeah, definitely got a lot of chunks of something in here. Yay. Good running motor, they said. Not a problem with it except a leaking injector, possibly, they said. Yeah. If I were to tell you I was surprised, I'd be lying to you. So, yeah, this is gonna be a full teardown. Try to figure out what is trying to eat itself alive. I mean, none of the connecting rods seem loose, at least down here, but with that being steel and aluminum, I'm really questioning maybe a wrist pin eating itself up in a piston or something along those lines. Which, if that's the case, and it ends up being on number 6, then that makes sense as to why we had a piston touching a valve. Because if the wrist pin's loose, it allows a little bit of play between the piston and the wrist pin. And like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of damage done. I could just barely feel a lip there. So I don't think it was like a hard impact. So yeah, we'll get this motor spun around, start pulling out the innards, and let's see what we find. Well, found the source of the carnage. It would appear that she spun her bearing. Yep, her crank is trash. Bearing spun. Here's the other one. I'll show you this. So, I mean, you can just see the carnage. I would say the piston's okay though. We'll see how the rod looks when we get that bearing off. But yeah, this very rapidly turned into a full rebuild.